Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Homespun Yak. Kyle and I took Memorial Day week off. Completely intentional. No,
Oh yeah.
absolutely. Um, yeah, so I just found out off air that apparently there's something going on in the soccer
Yeah.
world.
Yes, as you can see behind me, I've got two teams here. Soccer jerseys. The Euro Cup is happening this Friday. It's kicking off. And these two teams behind me, France and England, are the favorites going into it.
Wow, okay, why is that?
Just just the that's what the odds makers have done based on the squad strength, the strength of the squad,
Okay,
the talent.
I suppose I'm surprised England is out there. Not that I've kept up with anything, of course.
Yeah.
But it
They have a
didn't
bunch
strike
of
me as if they had like a great team in the past.
Yeah, they've had they've had good, really good players in the past, but they've always failed to live up to expectations.
Mm,
And this time they've got a lot of young players who are starting at really high profile clubs across the world, and they're all coming together for this tournament and hoping that they all peak for this. Well, they're hoping that they peak for this Euro Cup, and then next year is actually the World Cup because Euros were supposed to be last year, but due to COVID, they pushed it back, and then next year will be the World Cup. So I imagine they'll be pretty strong favorites as well because they'll have even more experience with this squad.
right.
And then France just winning the World Cup in 2018. Obviously, they're going to be, favored as well because it's pretty similar squad. And then Kareem Benzema is actually going to be back in the team for the first time in like 10 years.
Wow.
So that's interesting as well.
I remember
But
when he
good for
was part of
them.
the team. Yeah. So what happened with him?
He was part of a like blackmailing sex tape scandal for the French national
Right.
team,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
back when, and that like blew
Happens to
up
me
and
all the time.
escalate, yeah, blew up in like the 2010 World Cup when France actually absolutely fell apart and like left early because it was just like
I remember.
coaching problems and that on top of it, and they didn't bring certain people, and the players basically mutinied. And yeah, then they were like, "Yeah, he'll never play again." But now he's back. But I don't.
Wow.
It wasn't him that was like in the actual sex tape. It was a teammate, but they were accusing him of like
Filming it.
somehow somehow like bribing, like saying like if you don't do this, like we'll release this tape or something like that. But to this day, he's like, I never had anything to do with it, and I don't know if he actually got a fair trial or not. But he's been one of the best strikers in the world for over 10 years, and they've just never used him. But this time they're going to have him, so they're going to be even more deadly with him and Mbappe.
Mbappe.
Mbappe and Giroud is coming back too.
Uh, oh, nice. Okay. And what's the German guy's name? Or he has a German name, I should say. He plays for the French team. I think he's got a German name. Short guy,
Mm.
white guy. Who else is on their team? Kyle, go.
Let's see.
He's not a defender, I can tell you that much.
Oh, Griezmann, Antoine
Griezmann.
Griezmann. Yes, he'll
Yeah,
be
there.
there as well,
Okay.
obviously, and so pretty deadly attack for both England and France. Um, so
Yes.
it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if like they could end up meeting in the final or semis or something like that, but I'm sure that could happen.
Okay. So, what is your prediction? Since we're not going to have a show before this
Right.
whole this whole
Well, we'll have it during. I mean, it's
Oh yeah.
basically the whole month, but I mean, before it even kicks off, the
Right. Yeah.
prediction for me would, I think France will probably win, honestly, because I just trust. Well, so they just won the World Cup. They're obviously super confident in themselves as a team, play well together. Adding Benzema, their coach is fantastic. They all love the coach, and if they can get out of their first group, I mean, I think they're in like the group of death, if I'm not mistaken.
With Austria and who else? Hungary.
I think they're with Germany, actually. Which Germany could be another crash and burn, unfortunately. I hope not, but it's just they had to bring back Thomas Müller, and they had to bring back Mats Hummels and guys that were playing, like 2008 and 2006 for Germany. And not that they're bad or going to do bad, but it's like we have to bring those guys basically because we don't have any other options that are great. But yeah, Hungary, Portugal, France, Germany. So like Portugal, like they're probably, I would put France, and I could see Portugal winning as well. And then I could see England winning below Portugal. Like that's my third option. Just because Portugal they're the defending European champions, and whenever you have Ronaldo, you can't count anybody out. So, but England, the only reason why I would they should win the whole thing, in my opinion, based on the talent that they have. I just don't think they'll be utilized effectively. I think the coach is going to play a more defensive formation and defensive squad that's going to really hinder their ability to score goals early and then just be confident leading games and just going in deeper into the tournament. I think they're more just conservative in their approach when they really shouldn't be. But hopefully he proves me wrong, but I just don't rate that guy that high.
And Germany just switched their coach, right? Or they are going to switch their coach?
I think they're going to after this. It's going to be the guy who finished the season as the Bayern head coach, who's kind of a younger guy. He'll be taking over, I think, after this tournament.
Okay. You have any opinions on him?
I mean, I think he had like a falling out with Bayern. I know they won the league, and that's not like the hardest thing to do if you're Bayern lately, but I don't know. I don't know too much about him, but I think it's definitely time for a change for the German national team, because after their last Euro Cup showing and World Cup showing, it was pretty poor where you want Germany to be, because their history and everything in both competitions have been pretty incredible. So you want them to keep doing well, and they still producing good talent, young players, but you just got to get new coaching in. Hopefully that can stimulate it.
Yeah. Well, I'll be interested. As you know, I'm a huge Euro Cup fan, and I'll be following along intently.
But they're doing the games like all over Europe. It's not just going to be in one host nation.
Oh, okay.
Which will be interesting.
Is this the first time they're doing it that way?
I think they've done it sort of like this before, but they haven't done it a lot. I mean, the first game is going to be Turkey versus Italy in Rome on this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Seems like an unfair advantage.
Yeah, slightly, yeah. Well, I think like England is playing Scotland at Wembley for like their second game or something, which also seems unfair. But if Scotland beat England, that would just be...
That'd be like William Wallace.
It really
overcoming
will be. Pandemonium. Truly pandemonium. Field storming, everything. That'll be just something else.
on the news, Scotland invades England.
First time since William Wallace.
And it's actually just hundreds of thousands of soccer fans just running across the
That would
border.
be a good title.
Oh, that'd be
Good
hilarious.
title. But yeah, I mean, Wales are in it, Scotland are in it. I mean, nobody's expecting them to do too much, obviously. But I mean, Turkey, Italy, Wales, Switzerland. I mean, I feel like that's the first group that could go really anyway, because I don't see Italy. There's not a lot of players that I recognize to be like super amazing. And then Scotland's in the group with England, Croatia, and Czech Republic. So who knows?
What World Cup? It was who won third place? Wasn't it Germany?
So it was this past World Cup.
France versus Croatia, right? I know
that was the final. So Croatia obviously lost, and then England lost to Croatia in the semis, and then I can't remember who France beat. I think they beat Argentina.
I think that might be right. Yeah,
I can't remember, but I don't know who got third. Actually, I think England lost in the third place game because they just didn't care at all.
Right. Yeah.
But I can't remember who was third. But Croatia did beat England in their last major competition. So it could be a little bit of a revenge game for England.
Yeah. Well, although I was not aware, now that I am aware, I am actually going to try follow along. Probably not watch any of the games. Probably watch the highlights and stuff. But it's always really exciting. It's almost on par with the World Cup. The World Cup is obviously incredible, but yeah, it's always really exciting.
Yep. And then the last bit of soccer news: USA beat Mexico last night.
Oh yeah, I was going to text you.
A thrilling overtime win.
I was going to text you something like really as if I didn't know anything. I was going to say something like because I saw it on ESPN, like all the like just I didn't know which team. I didn't even know it was the United States. Just somebody had won a game. I was just going to text you like a soccer team beat another soccer team or something like that. Like, do you know anything about it? And you probably would have guessed it. You probably would have been like, United States, Mexico.
Yeah, it was actually the final of the whatever it's called, the CONCACAF tournament, which I guess like is the North American equivalent of like the Euro Cup, essentially.
Oh, okay. Wow. So the United States won that.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
It's been a long time since they won that. It's usually Mexico winning it pretty much every time. But the U.S. has a lot of really good young players that have been playing overseas for their club soccer and doing really well. So hopefully just continue to trend upwards. But I think that automatically qualifies us for next year's World Cup as well. So
wow,
doing better than last time.
Yeah. Didn't even make it last time.
And then the next World Cup 2026 will actually be in the U.S.
Okay, so it's a guaranteed slot. Okay, good.
Just like when it was in South Africa, they qualified, and we've not seen them since.
That's a good point. Well, probably because they're being punished for the vuvuzelas.
That's true. We don't want that.
Yeah, seriously. So the last time for the World Cup, the United States lost to like Panama or something like that, or
in qualifying, lost to like Trinidad.
Yeah, that's it. And then
like 3-0. I don't even know what it was, but like had to win to even like have a chance at qualifying, and just couldn't do it.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't do it.
Not even close. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
So I think we've like just done a complete overhaul on the coaching, the roster, everything, the philosophy, and Looking good after last night. So hopefully it continue. I'm not gonna hold my breath, obviously, but it's
The
in the right
philosophy.
direction.
That's funny. Just
Yes.
on the board, it says, it initially said "suck ass," so they just went up and just took that off and put
Yeah.
"don't suck ass."
Be better. Do better today. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the new
exactly.
philosophy.
And then all the
But yeah,
players are like, "All right, all
all
right,
right,
we
didn't
got
know.
this."
Didn't know. But yeah, ever since Klinsmann left as the U.S. coach, it was
Mm,
downhill, and it's been that way since. Hopefully now.
yeah. Who's their coach now? Do you know?
I can't remember his name. Younger guy.
Younger man. Hold
I'm
on,
looking
folks.
him up
We're
now.
looking it up. We're going to see what information we can find for you folks.
It is Greg Bearhalter.
Bearhalter.
Hey, and that's him.
That's it. That's what we got for you.
So far, 17 wins, 3 draws, 5 losses.
All
So
right.
not too bad.
That's more wins than losses.
That's more. That's what we want.
Yep.
So hopefully it results in good things for the future.
Yeah, hopefully. Man, World Cup next year already.
I know.
There's so many sporting events right now. There's the Euro Cup.
Yep.
There's the Olympics happening.
Yep.
And then
NBA playoffs right
NBA
now.
playoffs. NHL
Which are
playoffs.
intense as hell. NHL playoffs also intense.
Yeah, NBA playoffs have been really intense. That's the only ones. No,
And then
just quick
Ryder
on-
Cup
Oh yeah, Ryder Cup. Big fan.
September. That's
Big
going to
fan.
round it out.
Yeah, that's gonna round it out. Yeah. Actually, the NHL. Big fan of the NHL. As you guys
Huge,
know, I talk
huge.
about this every single time we talk on the podcast. All I do know is that the Hurricanes are getting their asses kicked at the moment
That's true.
and are down 3-1 in the series. So all they have to do is win. All they have to do is win three games
more.
in a row.
Yeah, in a row. Yeah. So,
Not a problem. Should be easy to do. And
yeah.
and they
that's
were
going to be Thursday.
and they
No.
had the best record in the league from what I recall. And now they're going to get ousted in like the second round.
Pretty basically swept. But yeah, like the previous round, I can't even remember who we played. Let me see here.
The Tampa Bay
The Preds,
Bunnies.
the Predators,
Okay.
the Nashville Preds. That was like I don't know, that was like a 5-game series. No, 6 games. And then the Lightning, or who are playing now.
Yeah.
But I had no idea we even made it to the playoffs until like somebody said something about it, or I just saw on TV
Yeah.
that it was just like, oh, Hurricanes, because they just get zero press anyway, because it's in North Carolina as
Right.
a hockey team,
Yeah.
as opposed to like Toronto or Montreal or literally any other market
Yeah, right.
is going to get all the press. But I'm like, sweet, I guess we're in it, but we're about to be out of it, it looks like.
Yeah, yeah. After a really successful season too. Too bad.
It's a shame.
Too bad. Anyway, that's our NHL news.
Yeah, that's all
Moving
I
on
got.
to the NBA.
Hmm.
NBA has been really interesting. Luka Doncic unfortunately could not close the deal against the LA Clippers. Clippers are a massive disappointment in my eyes.
Oh, for sure.
They just seem really pathetic. Yet again for a second year in a row. I don't know, man. I think the Nets are gonna fucking annihilate everyone.
I know.
They're
Like,
playing
well,
tonight against the Bucks, and the Bucks already
Yeah.
lost once. So, and they're playing without Harden, and I still think the Nets are gonna win.
I know. Like, I was watching the first game, and then like I literally look away, and then I look up, and Harden's like leaving, and I'm like, it's not even 10 seconds have gone by, and this man is leaving, and I had no idea what happened, but I guess it was like a hamstring.
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
And I
Just a
was like, all
strain
right,
though. So he'll be back.
within the series,
Probably, yeah.
maybe.
Probably.
Oh, man. I was like, well, I feel like this is the time that Milwaukee needs to just get at least one away win, you know?
Yeah.
Couldn't do it just because Kevin Durant is just an insane basketball player.
Yeah.
But before that, yeah, what you were saying about the Clippers, like they just so underperformed and like took a series to 7 that should never have gone that far. I mean, that's just credit mostly to Luka, how good he is. I mean, some of those games are just unbelievable to watch him play, and it just like highlights the fact that he has zero help at all
Yeah.
on the
You'd think
Mavericks.
with Porzingis he would have some help, but doesn't
He
seem to be the
should with
case.
him, but he just he doesn't show up, and
Yeah.
I don't know what his deal is, but yeah, Clippers just barely getting out of that. Now they got to play the Jazz, I guess.
Yeah, the Jazz. That's going to be a tough. I think the Jazz are a much tougher team than the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
More spread out, obviously based around Donovan Mitchell, but definitely more spread out. Did you catch that one Blazers game against the was it the Nuggets? Yeah,
Nuggets.
the Nuggets with Dame Dalla dropping 50
Mm-hmm.
55.
And still losing.
Still losing? Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine? Oh man.
Yeah, that's another situation similar to the Mavs. It's just like, I guess I'm just going to have to do everything and have the game of my life and still lose.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, it
So he'll
was.
be gone next year, I'm sure,
Yeah, is his
from the
contract up?
Blazers. I think so.
Oh, yeah, I would leave. Although I
Yeah.
think he said that he wants to stay, but I think that was like a year ago. But then again, like, what have they done? I don't think they've done
Nothing.
anything to like try and support him.
No, he's got to leave. And then, uh, yeah, who else?
Lakers.
Oh, well, yeah, the Lakers. But who are the Nuggets playing now?
Who are the Nuggets playing
Let
now?
me let me look at this.
I think it's a relatively. Oh, I think the Suns.
Suns,
Yes,
yeah.
Suns. Right.
And that's
Yeah.
tonight, game 1.
Yeah, I expect the Suns to win. I think even though the Nuggets have Jokic,
Is he MVP, you think, Jokic?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think you can
Yeah,
give it
that
to
guy's
anyone else.
unbelievable.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's fantastic. I think the
But
Suns will
without that guard, it's
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
without
can't win
Murray.
this game.
Yeah, you're. I think that they're like. I just wish that they'd had full strength. I think the Suns will win in 5. I think
Mm.
it's gonna go 4-1. That's my prediction. What do you think?
Um, I think I think the Suns are going to win, but in 6 games.
Okay, I mean, it's definitely realistic. Um,
Um,
you're full of shit, but it's definitely realistic.
if Chris Paul can stay healthy and he's had a little bit of time to recover, I guess,
Yeah,
since they beat the Lakers, who absolutely blew up
yeah,
and gave up, really. I mean,
yeah.
LeBron did.
I think
Without
that if
AD, you're going to lose anyway, but I mean,
absolutely, yeah, yeah. Granted, for sure. I think that if the Lakers had played the Clippers, though, somehow the Clippers would have lost. Just somehow.
oh, yeah, they would have found a way to lose.
Exactly. Yeah, it would have been so frustrating to watch.
I know. You just don't get it. Like looking at, I guess they don't really have a set big man at the Clippers.
No, they
I don't
don't.
know.
They really don't. No.
Yeah, which I guess I could hurt them on the rebound side of things, if anything. But still, like Kawhi Leonard, I mean, just seems like he's one of those players when he decides to go off, Like there's nobody that can defend him, and even Paul George too. He's kind of one of those guys as well. But it
Yeah.
just like some nights they just don't even care. It looks like,
They're just cold.
and then other nights it's like totally different team.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's no consistency there, which is why the Jazz will probably win just because they have a big man. Rudy Gobert is amazing. Got great shooters and just a good team chemistry.
So how many games?
I would say 5 for that one, for the Jazz to win.
Wow, that was pretty bold.
Yeah,
I'll go
that's my
6.
bold pick.
I'll go 6. I'll go Jazz 4-2.
All right.
Write that down.
And then the Hawks Sixers game. Did you see
Oh yeah, with Ice Tray.
the first game?
And Embiid
Bogdanovich.
Embiid was hurt, but he still played, and he
played the
dropped
whole
like
game.
40 or something, or like 30
Yeah.
something points. Yeah, but they still lost. So
They were
I
getting
think
beat by like 30 at one point.
who?
The Sixers
The Sixers.
in that game. They were
Oh.
losing by almost 30 points, like in the first half.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the Hawks just came out blazing, and obviously the Sixers came back in the fourth quarter and made it a really close game. But I mean, that was a home game for them, and it's going to be so advantageous for the Hawks when they go to Atlanta. I mean, it's just so hard to guard Trae Young, just so quick, and it's like Steph Curry basically.
Hmm.
You're going to foul him, or he's going to score somehow or make it amazing. He probably had like 10 alley-oops to Clint Capella that game. Like he gets in and everybody just crashes on him and he just tosses it up
Yeah.
alley-oop
Yeah.
or kicks it out to that Bogdanovich guy and he just nails a 3.
Yeah.
So the Hawks are like probably what would you call it? I guess they're
Dark
the
horse?
underdog. Dark horse, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my dark horse team.
Okay.
go to the
So
semis.
what's your prediction then with this series?
I think the Hawks are going to win in 7.
7. Okay. Okay. I'm going, if Embiid stays healthy and if he plays in all the games, I'm going Sixers in 6.
All right, I like
Going
it.
relatively bold.
I like it. I like it.
Relatively bold. I mean, they're the favorites technically.
They should have.
but
They
like,
should be winning, but
Yeah.
after what I saw, it was just
That's true, but
great.
they do have Doc Rivers now as their coach, and I do think he'll make some adjustments, and I don't
Yeah.
think that the Hawks are going to have nearly as an easy of a time
Mhm.
this time around, because I think eventually the Sixers will lean on Embiid, and who's gonna stop Embiid on the Hawks, you know?
I don't know. Yeah, there's nobody that could stop that guy.
No, Clint Capella is not going to be stopping Embiid.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
they might have gotten super lucky, but to have a 30-point lead away is just, I don't know. It'll be interesting, but that's just
Yeah.
my bold prediction that I want to come true, but
Yeah.
probably won't.
Yeah, well, I don't. That one's the one that I'm the least certain on, even though I still went in 6 games. And then what else is there? Oh, like okay, Brooklyn and Bucks. Like we talked
yeah.
about it, but like, what do you think the series is going to be?
I don't know, because Blake Griffin had an amazing game 1,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't see him having a consistently amazing performance when James Harden is out,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure he's out at least 1 or 2 more games.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that they might give Giannis the green light to just go nuts this game. Not that he maybe didn't last game, but I just didn't see him try to just be dominant and drive to the basket every time, because he can take anybody to the basket as a big man, and then I don't know. I just feel like he's going to get fouled if he continues to do that.
Well, he's also not very adaptable. That's been his biggest problem. He just has this like a few different moves, but he doesn't seem to improve in like 3-point shooting, jump shooting, like stuff like that. So I feel like eventually a team's just going to figure it out again, like they always do every year, and just box him out, and then he's just going to be completely useless. So
Yep.
I don't know. I think I've got the Nets in 6 games. Yeah, it's gonna be 4-2, Brooklyn. I try to look up some of the other games, but that's it. Those are all the
Yeah.
games that are playing.
Yeah, I think the Nets will win probably in 6 games as well. But I think the Bucks are going to win tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the Bucks got a smidge better than last year, just barely. I know their record doesn't reflect it, but like, I think that the switching out Bledsoe for
Holiday.
Right, Drew Holiday, was a good move, but I just it's not strong enough of a move. Like that's not going to be enough. Like you need Giannis, you need Middleton, and then you need a third, like a real third. Like Middleton is not even a real second. Like he's definitely he's a great player for sure, but he's not like a superstar. He's a star, but he's not a superstar. They need at least another like real star. Like Drew Holiday's kind
like
of
a real 3 shooter, a guy
Yeah.
that could just like knock down threes because they missed a lot last game.
Yeah, right, yeah. And they've got their rookie, or what was a rookie like a few years ago, DiFincenzo or whatever his name is. And he
Isn't
got
he
hurt.
injured?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
out for good, so unfortunately. But I really liked him when he was playing, and he was getting better and better, but unfortunately, yeah, he's out now. So I really don't expect them to get through this round. And then after that, I don't think they need to change their coaching staff. I think everything's great. I think they actually need to clean house with everyone except for Giannis and Middleton, and maybe probably even Drew Holiday. Get rid of him too, and get like a true Damian Lillard.
Oh,
Bam.
shit.
Done.
Damn, that could be huge.
That would be.
Because that's a guy that can handle the ball and shoot.
They would be definitely title contenders.
That makes them, immediately. And they're already doing well with what they have. But
Yeah.
if they just had that second guy,
Yeah.
I mean, that would be perfect
Especially
for
in the
him to
clutch. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
can shoot threes really well. Great shooter. Yeah, I think that'd be a perfect fit.
Yeah, they need to start contacting him now if they can legally. I doubt they can, but that would be a scary team. And then you'd have the rematch against the Nets the next year, and
That would be
even
interesting.
better.
Yeah, that would be super interesting. I still think the Nets would be better. But I think it'd be a lot
at full
closer.
strength probably. And then they got that guy Jeff Green who's hurt on the Nets as well. And
yeah.
he's a solid player, like a good defender. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The Suns are a team that I'm liking a lot too.
Yeah,
I don't
me
think they're
too.
going to go all the way this year, but
Nah.
they did better than a lot of people probably thought they would earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think so too. I remember when the Suns were like the worst team in the league. It's great that those things can change.
Yeah. Yeah. Devin Booker, pretty amazing player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a great player. So anyway, that's what I got for the NBA.
Yeah, I don't have a ton more, but in the basketball world, there is Coach K
Oh, yeah.
retiring
Yeah.
after next year season.
How you feel about that?
I mean, it's definitely time. I think it's maybe been time for him to step down. if it's up to him, obviously, whenever he wants to go. I think Duke would have kept him until he was like 100. But yeah, it's always hard when when you're the most successful ever basketball coach for college. Most ever wins and 5 national championships, countless ACC championships, 3 USA gold medals as the head coach. I mean, you've pretty much done what you can do at this point. There's nothing more you need to prove, but it's just like, when is the right time to go out? And yeah, I mean, I think now is a good time to go. But he announced it early, so everywhere he goes, they have to give him a standing ovation.
Wait, but he's not even
Which
leaving
won't
till.
happen.
Oh yeah, I guess you're talking about like next season. Oh wait,
Yeah,
wait.
after this coming season, he's
Okay,
gone.
okay,
He's
yeah.
not. He announced like, I'm doing one more season, and then John Shire is taking over.
Okay.
Who John
Shire.
Shire was a part of the 2000 and like 11, 12 team that won the
Somehow I
national
remember
championship.
that. Yeah. Somehow
They
Shire,
beat
just like.
Butler with Gordon Hayward. He was
Oh
on that
yeah.
team.
Right, 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 right. But this was in. Was that the Final Four? Or was that
That
the
was the national
finals?
championship.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like our freshman year of college,
Okay.
like the toward the end, more March Madness of 2009.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, oh man. I don't want to think about time.
No, no, but yeah, John Shire. I mean, you just look throughout the years of like who's been on Duke's bench as like the assistant coaches, and it's always been like former players, but like through the early 90s through now, like all those guys have gone on to be coaches, head coaches elsewhere. So it's like a Coach K grooming process
Right. Yeah.
where they're like just trained to go like all different places where uh, maybe most notably Quinn Snyder, Utah Jazz coach.
Oh,
He
okay.
he played for Duke in like I want to say like late 80s,
Hmm.
and I think he did that same thing, and kind of bounced around at college and assistant at NBA, and now doing well with the Jazz. So John Shire getting a crack at no pressure, John.
Yeah. Yeah, he landed at the perfect opportunity because I mean, all
Oh
these
my
other
God.
coaches I'm sure would have loved to like that were
Oh
from the
yeah, and they
90s.
were assistants for much longer than Shire was, and
Yeah, just came around at the right time.
yeah, I mean, I guess Coach K, that was his decision. So I mean, I don't have a problem with that decision, but it's just like, yeah, it's just going to be different. I mean, no Roy Williams or Coach K for Duke or UNC, and it kind of coincides really with like just the one and done era. And then are we going to start paying college kids, or are college kids actually going to go and play overseas first or out of high school, or they're going
Hmm.
to form this other league? So it's like, is college basketball going to die with Coach K retiring? Like, I just don't get hyped up for it as much as, I mean, I guess that's because I'm a State fan. And like, I'm not as a diehard Duke fan like in my childhood when we just wrecked everybody and just won
Yeah.
stuff. But I don't know. Hopefully that's not the case, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think they'll adapt, no doubt. I can't imagine the NCAA just being so stuck in their ways. Like after a while, I mean, as because everybody recognizes kind of the crooked ways of the NCAA. So eventually they're just going to be pressured into changing their ways. Just
Yeah,
have to.
yeah. And even Coach K made a comment about the NCAA, sort of like a jab at them, how they're managed and stuff. So hopefully they will change. But the great Coach K leaving after 80 years in charge.
Oh, wow. It's a lot longer than I remember.
Yep. He's had natural black hair the whole time.
Right. Yeah. In a not so stressful job at all.
Yeah.
He's
No
here.
pressure, nothing.
See him and hear him yelling
Profanities.
Yeah. Yeah. But he wasn't stressed.
No. Yeah, I remember I went to his camp as a kid right after they won the 2001 championship with Shane Battier and Jay Williams.
Yeah.
And I went to a summer camp there, and just like Carlos Boozer was there, and they would do drills with all the kids and stuff. And based on your age, you were in this division, and you were like a college team, and you played in the tournament with your age group, and our team won. And coach, we all got to meet Coach K and have a little private moment with him and talk to him and got pictures and stuff. And that was definitely something I'll never forget.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Only the winners got to meet Coach K.
Yeah, that's what happened. You got to win, baby.
Yeah.
You got to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll never forget that first day, everybody's in Cameron Indoor and sitting down, and Coach K's coming out and just addressing everybody, and he's just dropping F-bombs, and it's just
Really?
yeah,
That's hilarious.
10-year-old kids in there. It's great. Oh, it was great. But yeah, that was an awesome experience. But yeah, the great Coach K leaving us.
Yeah, there aren't
Roy Williams left
last year, right?
At the end of last year.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, when I think about the coaches that I remember, those are the two big names that jumped out, and now they're gone too.
Yeah. Sucks.
Yeah. So remember, Sidney Lowe was another one that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, State's been through quite a few since they've
I know.
Especially since Coach K has been the coach there. State's been through probably 12 or 13 coaches. I don't know how many, but it's been a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost as if the coaching wasn't the issue.
Yes.
We keep changing this one variable and nothing changes.
Yeah. You could go higher up. But yeah, I mean, Coach K was there since 1980. I mean, he was really close with Jimmy V back in the day.
Yeah. That's a great documentary, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Which I know you told me about it, actually. You were the one that told me about Cardiac Pack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, Survive and Advance.
Yeah, one of the greatest sports stories of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to think of a more insane underdog run, because you always have them in the NCAA tournament, but up to a point. It's Elite Eight, oh my God, Davidson, when Steph Curry, oh, they're in the Elite Eight, are they going to do it? No.
Yeah,
they're not going to do it. Maybe a Final Four a random team will get to, but it's rare that they go on and win the whole thing. And people are I never saw this coming. No one predicted it. And that was exactly with NC State. Had to win the ACC tournament just to get in. Yeah. And that was against Michael Jordan's UNC, by the way.
Yeah.
So, great documentary. We've never been back to that peak since.
What year was it? 1980?
83.
83. Because then Mike won it in 1984, something like that.
He won it the 82.
82.
And then State 83, and then he left, I think, a year early after that season to go to the pros.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
But yeah, MJ and James Worthy, Kenny Smith. Like that's a lot of NBA championships between those three players
Yeah. Seriously.
eventually. But yeah, that's basically the sports roundup. Unless
Do we have the energy to go into it?
let's see, I've got it up.
So do I.
I'll put it in your court if we have the internet. The story is not going away.
No, it's not going away.
There may be even more to it.
Man, I don't know. So you sent me this article on BBC from BBC News talking about okay. I didn't really understand the quote. So, you want to give some background on this whole situation?
Yes. So, there is a transgender woman, a trans woman who is Italian and is set to become the first transgender Paralympian to compete in an official women's event, who in the past has competed in men's races before transitioning in 2019. She's now going to do the women's 100, 200, and 400 meter races. But between 2016 and 2018, this person won 11 men's national titles. 11 as a man, and admits that, like, I've slowed down tremendously, since then, and I don't have an advantage anymore. My performances have dropped. It's totally fair now. So basically, you can no longer dominate as a man, but you still have that competitive edge to want to win gold medals. So you go into being a woman and hence dominating against women. I'm not saying that's what she's doing, but that's what will happen. that's what will happen. And
that she will dominate against women?
Most likely.
Oh, she's already competed.
She already is. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned 11 national titles in 3 years as identified male. I don't really know the terminology, as always. And
it changes a lot.
And then ran her first official race as a female para-athlete at the Italian Paralympics Championship and won gold in 100 meters, 200 meters, and 400 meters. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah. And she has not undergone gender reassignment surgery or amended her gender on identity documents, but said she hoped her story could be of example for young LGBT plus people. So.
Okay, yeah. and then in this article they do mention like some of the, actually not very well. They don't actually address it very well, but some of the science. They just talk about how transgender women are on average taller, bigger, and stronger than cisgender women, even after hormone therapy. And those are advantages in many sports. And that was said by a transgender person.
Oh.
So it's not even just a doctor, although doctors are also cited in here, I think, where they say the same thing. So, yeah, it's tough. That's a really difficult situation for the Olympics to be in. You know, and I've had women that have signed petitions, a small number of women that are competing, and said that while they welcome her to compete, to run with them, they don't like the idea of her winning the actual like competitions, the actual medals, because they feel like it's unfair. So I think 30 women signed a petition. Yeah, more than 30 female master athletes signed the petition. Her physical superiority is so evident as to make competition unfair. She says this is a person that's, I don't know if she's competing or not. Oh no, a lawyer, I think, arguing that the IOC's exclusive focus on testosterone makes no sense when physique is also a factor. And I completely agree. I've said that on multiple occasions. If she wants to run with us, we would be happy for her to do so. We will always welcome her, but we don't want her to compete with us for titles specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, lawyer and runner. Which I understand, like, it's, as we've said in the past, it's a delicate topic, but ultimately the science is pretty damn clear.
Right.
That this is a massive advantage, and you're talking about the Olympics
right.
here.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a fair competition. And when the science is clear on these things, it's like you state the science of what it is, and people interpret that as bigotry or bias, or you trying to like be demeaning or discriminatory. But it's simply just fact that this I mean, if certain people want to allow it, I mean, that's on them, I guess. That's their prerogative to do whatever they want to do. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is what the facts are. You can choose to ignore it if you want, or you can choose to embrace it and try to make this as fair as possible. But I just don't see how it's fair at all for other biological women to compete against her when only 2 years ago she was winning titles as a man. I mean, I think that's a clear advantage, a physical advantage that is pretty evident. And yeah, like you said, a tough spot for the Olympics to be in.
Yeah, unless we just ignore that there are any differences between men and women, which we could do.
Well, that's what they
That
would
works.
want. Yeah, it seems this because if there's any hint in that article about like this is unfair or this isn't right, or they wouldn't publish it because they're just scared of the backlash that would ensue. So you have to write these articles as if like, I don't know, it's just you can't have an opinion about it in major articles like the BBC or CNN. It's like, we want the woke army on our side. We're just simply telling you the story, but I don't know. I get the vibe that it's just like almost like if they don't let this woman compete, then shame on them sort of thing from these major media networks. I don't know. It's an interesting story, and I'm sure it will continue to develop as the Olympics are this year.
Yeah, I'll be curious how that follows along. If she ends up winning everything that she ends up competing in. I think the more dramatic stories are when people haven't won anything, when they competed in the men's division, and then when they go over to the women's division, they end up
just clean up.
Yeah, just end up like breaking records. It's like, what What am I supposed
Yeah,
to
and then
do
you're
with
like
that?
jumping up and down like you're the best. Like, dude or lady, come on.
Yeah.
It's just like that's a level of like, I don't know what you would call that. Just to like go, just to, I don't know. I'm not saying you're doing it solely for the purposes of just like trying to win for yourself, but if you know you have a clear advantage and you're like, I always felt like I was a woman and I'm going to now compete as a woman and smash these records, and then like gloat about it and like really celebrate and be like, my medal, like, yes, I did this. Like that I don't know. To me, that is a sign of, I don't know what you would say. I don't know. I'm not even going to go down that road, but it just seems wrong to me
Yeah.
on certain levels.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, in an extreme example, is like, what's that one guy, Zuby or Zoopy or something like that? He's got kind of a funny name, but he decided to make a point.
Oh
So
yeah.
he ended up entering a state weightlifting championship, powerlifting championship, and he registered as a woman because he said he was
That's how
gender
he
fluid or whatever.
identified.
That's how he identified in that moment. So he competed
Mhm.
as a woman and he shattered every record. And then he's just like, all right, I'm done,
I'm a guy
and
now.
yeah, it's just, and of course that's an extreme example, and that's actually like mocking the
Mhm.
overall idea, which I understand is like disrespectful in terms of like people. There are people that are definitely transgender and actually feel the way that they feel, and they've been misidentified, mislabeled, and whatnot. I get that. It's just the point is like some of this like wokeness has just gotten to a point where like we can't, anybody in what feels like their right mind would look at Zuby or whatever his name is and be like, that's fucking bullshit. Like
That's
that's ridiculous.
bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
clearly that's
ridiculous.
bullshit.
But like some of these woke people like have to bite their tongue because even though I feel like in their brain they know it's bullshit, they can't
Yeah.
actually say anything because it would technically be, it would start to blur this line of like, okay, when do we call people out for bullshitting as opposed to when they're really going through, they really want to go through these transitions and whatnot. That's one aspect. But on the other hand, of course, and I think something that's certainly more difficult to tease out is, well, I don't think it's difficult to tease out, but a lot of people argue that it's easy or hard to tease out is people that go through hormone therapy and whatnot, and then they do it
Hmm.
for a year, and just like the article said, she lost a certain amount of speed on her like running and whatnot. But I mean, I can list many examples of things that just don't change
Don't
when
leave
when you
after
ju-
40 some years.
exactly, yeah, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Mm-mm.
um, yeah, I mean, just a few off the top of my head, right? Just a few. Your bones, they remodel, right, over time. It takes like a year for your bones to just like begin remodeling. So this is just like throughout your life, your bones are constantly remodeling. So just removing testosterone and then maybe replacing it with something else isn't going to suddenly lead your bones to be like, okay, well, in 1 year's time, they're going to be female size bones, which they're not. Men's bones are much thicker. That's why women have to deal with osteoporosis a lot more than men, a lot
Mm-hmm.
more than men, because men just have thicker, more dense bones. It's not just the size of the bone, but it's also the density. Beyond that, muscle growth. So not just muscle growth, but the actual cells themselves are predetermined. So once you're born, you have those muscles, and there's nothing that can change that. And if you're a man, you have an actual much higher count of muscle cells in your upper body. Um, a discrepancy isn't quite as large for lower body. That's why you have a lot of like female lifters that are incredibly strong when it comes to lower body. And not to
They
say that
just
they
have
can't be.
blowout asses.
Yeah, right.
Continue.
But there's discrepancies in terms of the number of cells. So imagine if you have, let's say, a 200 horsepower engine, and then you've got a 400 horsepower engine. I mean, and you aren't allowed to change the actual engine itself. You can make modifications to each engine as you want, but you can't actually take out the engine and replace it with a different engine. That's kind of what we're talking about here. Like it's set in stone. It doesn't matter about the hormones. It's set in stone. So the muscles are still going to react the way that they're supposed to react. So, testosterone plays a huge factor, and it definitely, if you lose it, it plays a role, and you will lose a lot of competition. But I'll bet, a lot of people that are transgender can still outcompete. Let's say if you're world class, right? Kind of like, this woman, right? She's world class. And then she competes against people that are not world class, but let's say she were to compete against men that aren't world class, she would probably wipe the floor with them.
Still beating them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And meanwhile, to add to that, some of the world class women might actually have a lot closer times or lose to less world class men, because there are some real discrepancies. And of course, with running and stuff like that, it's a little less pronounced. But if you're talking about, like Olympic lifting or even sprints, but definitely anything that's upper body focused. If you're doing anything like that, it's going to be a huge difference between the two. So, there's just a few examples. The muscles and then the bones themselves, of course, the tendons and the ligaments, those all have to adapt as well. That stuff just doesn't change in a year. It just doesn't. No matter what, if you just cut off everything, cut off all hormone production, it just doesn't wither and disappear. So,
well, yeah, that's how LeBron's going to play until he's 50. He's going to just transition when he's 40, switch to the WNBA.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, that's another great example, right? Like men, they're like when they dunk, their head is like at the rim.
At the level of the rim.
Yeah. And like so few women can actually dunk.
Yeah. And it's like barely getting it over the rim.
Yeah, exactly.
That just is what it is. It's not a knock. It's
not a knock now. Don't get it twisted.
We don't make the rules. God does.
God.
Jehovah does. But Florida banned all
COVID.
Well, yeah, they've banned that for a while. But they banned transgender athletes competing in women's sports.
Oh, interesting.
Recently, like a week ago.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, really recent. And I think they're actually the 8th state to do that. I thought they might have been like, the first, but apparently there's been 7 other before them. So this is an issue that's it's not an easy answer. It's evolving on all sides as far as how to address it in society and politics, but yeah.
Admittedly, I actually disagree with the banning of trans athletes in sports, mainly because I don't think the government should get involved in that. I just don't. I think that it should be, my view has always been like, if everybody's okay with it, everybody knows, first off,
right,
they're fully educated on the circumstance, and they choose to compete, so they still choose to compete, then it should be good to go. Like, don't, then you've chosen your path. It's just, but
yeah, it's tricky to just ban it across the board.
Yeah, I just don't like government, because then we're kind of getting into like LGBTQIA plus like rights and stuff like that, and I feel like then you're kind of infringing on people's rights potentially. I don't know exactly, but
there definitely will be challenges in the court.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I just want everybody to have a fair shake at competition. Unfortunately, there may not be enough trans athletes to compete in their own division, but that would be the most ideal scenario for them to compete against one another, or have these open divisions where everybody, there are no restrictions, and then you have more restricted divisions where it's only women that compete as that aren't trans. Again, I don't know how to say cisgendered. I don't.
Do you
know.
think there's more? Do you think there are more trans or non-binary people today than there ever were, or do you think people are more comfortable actually coming out as who they are today because there's more tolerant views in their society?
I think both. I think both for sure. But I will, like, Joe Rogan had that one woman on that was talking about kind of some of the psychological statistics between, like, for women that end up girls,
especially,
I should say,
like in your
girls,
youth, as
like 12,
kids.
14 years old that want to transition and stuff, and like a lot of them end up like regretting the fact that they underwent like hormone blockage and all that stuff
at a crucial time.
Yeah, absolutely crucial time. So, it's I definitely think that people feel more comfortable, and that's fantastic. And I mean, I completely support that. However, I think that especially in the youth, and that's something I feel pretty strongly about as well, mainly from a psychological perspective, like, I think also everybody should recognize that we were all dumbasses when we were 12 or 14. I can't imagine a time where I was dumber. So for me to actually make a decision about like what is my well-being is to that permanent of a degree is just astounding to me. And I think in that regard, more girls, and why I'm focused on girls is because she was talking about these girls specifically.
Deborah So, I think was her name.
No, it wasn't Deborah So. It was someone else. Although she has her End of Gender book, which I've only gotten through about half of it. I found some of the stuff in there really interesting, but she actually has like scientific studies to back up all the different things. And she doesn't. She acknowledges that people can be transgender. Like truly, there are people that were born with identified as one sex, but then or as one gender, and then they felt their entire lives, correctly so, that they were actually another gender. And that's because of, as she says in the book, that in embryonic development, that the exposure to different hormones, let's say testosterone and estrogen, that some women can actually be exposed to a lot of testosterone. Their brain starts to formulate based off of that exposure to testosterone, and then they still get born as a woman or identified as a woman. And that's where you get some of that disconnect, and then people want to transition to what they actually feel is really who they are. No, this other woman was talking about in specifically childhood shifts and whatnot. And she was talking about how it's like some astronomically high percentage of girls that choose to transition end up regretting, like it's like 90%, something like insane.
Wow.
And she also talks about how peer groups, if one person decides to transition, then suddenly it starts to affect everyone else, and suddenly you have this disproportionate number of girls. I'm focusing again on girls because it seems to affect girls more. Not that it doesn't happen with guys as well, but a lot of girls kind of, it's like trendy almost, and they end up, not that they're saying it in their head, they're not saying, hey, this is trendy, so I'm going to do it. But like if one maybe has a legitimate reason, like they actually feel like, hey, I am not how I was identified, that her friends will sometimes say similar things and start to express similar views, and then maybe a year down the road, or a few years down the road, maybe a decade down the road, they end up detransitioning or wanting to detransition. But of course, at that point, depending on how far you went, you may have done some permanent damage, I don't know, quote unquote damage, to your body.
Irreversible.
Yeah, just irreversible changes. We'll just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And these people then end up suffering from intense depression and anxiety, and just like their mental health really takes a hit. So it's not like I'm trying to attack trans people and say like, oh, you don't deserve this, or you don't like. I'm trying to be as accepting as possible, but I still want to recognize the science behind certain things and the psychology behind certain things, and I just don't want to turn a blind eye to any of that. And of course, like even aside from the kind of the clinical, the scientific aspect, also just understanding that so many people feel like they're making the right decision as a kid, and then they end up regretting it massively later on. I mean, that's something that actually, as an adult, as a parent, you have to protect against.
Oh, yeah.
So and that's where the woketivist ideas can be really detrimental.
Like we're going to let our kids choose stuff like, I don't know how that happened or what the philosophy behind that is, but in a talking about subject like this, where there are so many, it's so layered and it can be so varied, and there's so much you have to actually look at in the details to understand each individual case. People want to be incredibly emotional about it from a larger media perspective, and that can be frustrating for people like us, but it's gonna be interesting to see how things like this progress in a lot of different facets of society, sports specifically.
Yeah, and I do think that things will correct. I don't think that there's reality and then there's something outside of reality, and if people want to live outside of reality, that's eventually. Although I do think it's going to hurt people, but ultimately it's going to correct itself because you just can't like. The facts are the facts, and they're gonna come out eventually. So, yeah.
Yep.
So there's my my 2 cents on the topic.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the old stocks today.
Oh, all right.
Segment. Stock second, and seeing that my dad's old company, Eisai, Japanese pharmaceutical company, based in RTP, saw that their stock just today had gone up about $40 to $50.
Wow.
And I was like, what happened? And apparently my dad was talking about this he's no longer with them, but he was talking about this for years because Eisai was like on the cutting edge and trying to be the first manufacturer of a Alzheimer's drug, and it looks like the FDA grants accelerated approval for Aduhelm, that's the name of the drug, as the first and only Alzheimer's disease treatment to address a defining pathology of the disease. So they approve this they approve this treatment to address a defining pathology of the disease by reducing amyloid beta plaques in the brain. And their stock went up a shitload because it now has FDA approval, and that can take years and years and years to acquire and can bankrupt you in the process. Billions and billions of dollars go into the R&D and every little aspect, the research and the trials and all this stuff, and it looks like there's a light at the end of the tunnel for this. But I thought that was an interesting interesting development in the world of Alzheimer's. Hopefully it will help people.
That is super interesting. I wonder what the mechanism is that they targeted. It's always difficult with research.
Yeah, it would take too long for me to tell you about it, but
okay. But anyway, it reduces beta amyloid plaques. So.
Yeah. Tell the folks about that. What are plaques in the brain?
Well, you have plaques and you have tangles, and some of them are outside of the neuron. So you have your brain is filled with a series of different cells, but people focus on the neurons. You got neurons, you got glia, you got microglia, you got astrocytes. So a series of different cells that are found in the brain. And the neurons are the ones that we focus on so much because they're the ones that actually allow us to communicate, thoughts and ideas and all kinds of different things.
They're firing constantly.
Firing constantly, yes. Thank you, Dr. Hadley.
Welcome.
He just goes back to sleep.
Proceed.
Yeah.
So you're saying if we block these plaques in the brain, we reduce the likelihood of Alzheimer's?
That's the
severity.
The severity.
The quickness of onset.
Yeah, that's the idea.
We slow it down.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
They're not entirely sure why we get Alzheimer's, but a lot of the evidence points towards these beta amyloid plaques and these tangles, and it's literally just like sticky proteins, essentially proteins that stick together and create this network of non-functional proteins. And it gets, in a manner of speaking, it gunks up the neuron on the inside but also on the outside, so that the neuron can't communicate well with other neurons. And just as a bit of tidbit, if you want to fight this process, sleep is incredibly important, because sleep and why we sleep, right? You read that book. I don't know if you remember that part where he talks about when we sleep and we go through a deep sleep, there's this point at the front of our brain that allows this pulse, and the pulse goes across our entire all the folds of our cerebrum, and that actually opens up the neurons. So the neurons are very close together, and it'll actually separate them a little bit. So then the cerebral spinal fluid will come in and wash over the neurons and clear out those plaques. So that's why sleep is so important. And unfortunately, I think that as the quality of our sleep decreases as we get older, 60s, 70s, 80s, that becomes more and more of an issue, that the body isn't capable of that. And some people genetically can sleep really well, and some people just genetically are shitty sleepers. And so trying to figure that out for yourself can be really, really powerful in preventing dementia, like Alzheimer's. So there's my spiel.
All right.
So now tell me, what's the molecular mechanism that they targeted here?
Well, we've got to go, actually. We'll address it next time.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Does it even say?
I mean, I can send you this article. I just don't know how to read it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what I'm reading.
Oh, shit. Oh, God. I love that. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is in front of me right now.
I just know they're trying to cure Alzheimer's.
Oh, man. That's an old-timer's disease.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good to end the podcast here.
Right.
Oh, man. Covered sports for a long time. Then we covered our typically inflammatory subject. And then a bit on Alzheimer's. I think that's a pretty well-rounded podcast. Oh, by the way, Alex, if you're still listening to this, let us know, because I was talking to Alex yesterday. He said he Alex Teasdale, who's been on the podcast before. He said that every time he goes for a long drive, he just listens to us for like 5 hours. He said it's very.
My God.
He said it was very relaxing to just like hear us talk.
Out.
Yeah, well, not just even zone out. Like he actually has like ideas and stuff, and he writes them down. And he said he's gonna text me some of the some of the ideas that he's had from our podcast. So
Sweet.
yeah.
Well, I know a podcast that you got excited about recently was Diamond David Lee Roth.
Oh man, dude, that was unbearable. I got half an hour into. Did you listen to it?
I did. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I listened to probably, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes to an hour of it while I was in the gym.
Do you notice how Joe was just trying to like keep a lid on the entire podcast that entire time? You could tell he was just like, God, like this guy just will not shut up. Like what?
Yeah, he went to the bathroom and he just looked at Jamie. He's just like, he's different now. He's more extreme. Like in the past episodes, he's always been like that.
Yeah.
But he's just gotten more like exuberant and eccentric and excited. And the dude is just hyped up on life. He
Seriously.
truly is.
Yeah. Honestly.
He's like, what weed are you smoking? He's like, that is the most powerful weed ever.
Oh, it was too much for me. He just kept jumping from one thing to another.
Laughing so hard at his every time he said something.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a joke. He would just die laughing.
Exactly.
And Joe's like,
Joe didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to be listening
Diamond
to the rest of that. That was bad.
He walked out of there. He's like, I killed that. What's next? He did say he's been that way since like the 70s. Like I've seen interviews with him, like with Van Halen, like in the 70s. Exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Damn.
Like no off switch at all.
Seriously.
None.
That is not the type of person you go to for advice or to like be listened to. That dude will. Oh my God. He just doesn't have the capacity. Yeah, totally. He's like a squirrel. Just
has an opinion on everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
He did say a quote one time that I liked. He said, somebody asked him about like what's like all this fame and wealth, like what are you like early on in Van Halen, and he's like, well, money can buy you a ship big enough to park right beside happiness. It can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you that ship that can park right by it. So that was pretty accurate statement on, being rich.
Yeah,
it's not going to solve all your problems. Yeah, it's not going to solve all your problems, but it makes your life easier in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I admittedly, I like that quote too. Yeah, that's good. It does seem pretty accurate from my experience as a rich person.
Sure, yeah. It's Jeff Bezos' lawyer team.
Right, yeah.
We do okay? Just fine.
Especially if he goes through another divorce.
Yes. In space.
Yeah, in space. Well, folks, thanks for stopping by, and till next time, have a good one.
Good night.